Earlier this month, employees at the Bavarian Waste Company in Walton, Kentucky, they were out on a hilltop on the company's property raising a huge flag. What was it of? Well, the Sacred Heart. It was on a flagpole sitting on top of the truck, and it was a clear statement of their beliefs expression. Our Lord is sacred.
A little later, we're going to speak
And the demonstration joy of their love.
And I think we're living in, I've said this yesterday, I don't want to keep beating the same drum, but I do think that probably should hear about it.
Where we truly see and understand what means the devotion to the Sacred Heart.
I don't know exactly who may be listening to this, but if you are, you're supposed to. And thanks for passing it on if it's helpful. Thanks to Bavarian and the site that they've offered, all right, raised high there, 1,000 feet up in Boone County on the pole, which is partnered with our country's own flag. But that Sacred Heart image, the heart of our Lord Jesus Christ, that fount of the precious blood which redeems all men, now can be seen there on 75, 71. If I be lifted up, I will draw all men to myself, says our Lord Jesus Christ. And so this occasion is provided for by the apostolate of Bavarian to raise this image that all of us in looking upon it have to deal with. Why the Sacred Heart? The Sacred Heart is that organ given to our Lord to die in by his Immaculate Mother, the Virgin Mary. And from it, the sacred blood will pour out to redeem us. Why blood? Why Jesus Christ? Because of Adam and Eve's sin. The sin that was one of pride, one of control over God. And that sin is being passed down by the man in the blood throughout the human race. So we all are born in original sin. The debt is paid, but that blood is going to power sacraments and power graces, all right? They're going to give us the chance to renew friendship, a new alliance, back to God, and then someday spend all eternity with him. The price of the original sin, the cost of the original sin, is going to be our Lord's own life. Why? Because the sin itself, committed by a man, Adam and Eve, is committed against God. And so the debt to be paid in justice is going to have to be a life offered up in sacrifice, because a life was taken or given up by Adam and Eve, the spiritual life, in their expulsion of God from their souls. It's going to take a God and a man at the same time to pay the debt. A God and a man. Blood will have to be drawn. Death is going to have to be effected. Our Lord is going to have to give up his life as God and man together, with a pure blood, by the way, and one that's not tainted by original sin. Blood, blood, blood in the Old Testament, yes, by animals, which don't commit sins. But it was a lesson already for 4,000 years that it would be blood that would be the key, the liquid love that would open up heaven for us. This is going to be a pure blood. It's going to be all about God. And it's going to be the death of an innocent victim, our Lord Jesus Christ. And that Sacred Heart is to represent that victim which he calls us to become. For me to live is Christ, to die is gain. And so it's the true Catholic, it's the true Christian that is willing, allowing, desiring God to open up his heart, so that it could be wounded for men and also join in the redemptive project. So when St. Paul says that we are to add to the sufferings of our Lord Jesus Christ, the head has done so, but the body must now follow, and that's our call. The wounded heart is the wound of the New Testament, as circumcision was for the Old Testament, the wounded heart. So, life is in the blood. Life is in the blood. When our Lord came to visit St. Margaret Mary Alacoque in the 1670s, he complained of a cold world that did not love him. He exposed his Sacred Heart, the one that's on the image of the flag, the banner flying high in the sky there, exposed that heart, surrounded by the crown of thorns, which is a symbol of the original sin, because it's at the original sin when thorns entered into nature as a sign of now the suffering that would enter into the world, and the sin which would have to be paid for by our Lord Jesus Christ. Notice on top of the heart there are the flames, which symbolizes love, a heart on fire, and the cross, which is the instrument of our salvation, and those rays of glory that radiate from it. This is our Lord Jesus Christ, all right, to be represented, and for us to understand why we venerate and adore this heart in thanksgiving and gratitude, because it's this liquid love that pours out. Blood, representing the Holy Eucharist, for which all the other sacraments point, the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ in communion, as Catholics know, and then also the water, which is the baptism, which makes us eligible for the other sacraments. This comes out of our Lord's side, a side which represents for us the church. And as in the first Adam, a woman was made from a rib, so out of the side of our Lord Jesus Christ, the church, the Catholic Church, is to be seen in this other woman, this Holy Mother, the church. So if we can imagine that pole piercing the earth and striking deep into the ridge there on top of the Bavarian site, it's a landfill. Garbage, corrupting things. But if this pole could be seen as a hypodermic needle, so to speak, injecting into the world the precious blood, which can turn all things into itself, we can see now a resurrection being effected, souls being cleansed, souls being won to the truth. The blood of our Lord Jesus Christ is the price that has been paid, the cost for grace. For me to live is Christ, to die is gain. And so we imitate that heart and rise ourselves, by His grace, in imitation of Him, His allowance to live in us, to die for other souls in our sacrifice and obedience and our duties, and to glorify God the Father, as Christ did Himself.